Twisted Boarding House. In the small, isolated town of Raven, shrouded in perpetual mist and surrounded by dark, ancient forests, stood a decaying and foreboding boarding house known as the Haunted Hollow. Its once grand facade had faded with time, and its windows were now boarded up, as if to keep the horrors within from spilling out into the world. The boarding house was owned by a reclusive and enigmatic figure named Mr. Mortimer, a man rumored to have made a deal with sinister forces to prolong his life beyond its natural limits. Locals whispered that he was cursed, forever haunted by malevolent spirits that lurked in the shadows, seeking to reclaim his stolen years. Each night, the boarders who found themselves unfortunate enough to stay at the Haunted Hollow were tormented by nightmarish visions. They reported hearing chilling whispers that echoed through the halls, telling tales of unspeakable tragedy and suffering. The walls seemed to seep with misery, and the air was heavy with an oppressive sense of dread. The first boarder, a young woman named Emily, arrived at the Haunted Hollow seeking refuge from a troubled past. But her nightmares worsened upon entering the house. She spoke of seeing ghostly figures wandering the corridors, their faces etched with anguish. At times, she could hear the distant sound of weeping, but when she followed the cries, they would lead her to empty rooms, devoid of any presence. The second boarder, a retired soldier named Henry, had hoped to find peace in the quiet town of Raven. Instead, he found himself plagued by vivid hallucinations of battlefields soaked in blood, as if reliving the horrors of war night after night. As the weeks passed, more boarders came and went, each escaping the Haunted Hollow with wild eyes and trembling voices. Some claimed to have encountered grotesque apparitions that would emerge from the shadows, only to vanish when approached. Others were gripped by chilling hands that reached out from the walls, trying to pull them into some abyss beyond comprehension. Mr. Mortimer, the elusive owner of the boarding house, seemed unfazed by the accounts of terror and despair. He rarely appeared in public, leaving the day-to-day operations of the boarding house to his grim-faced servants. Rumors swirled that he conducted occult rituals in the darkest corners of the building, drawing even more sinister energies into the already cursed place. One stormy night, a journalist named Sarah, driven by curiosity and the desire for a sensational story, arrived at the Haunted Hollow to uncover the truth. She spent hours investigating its dark history, interviewing former boarders, and delving into local legends. During her stay, the boarding house seemed to sense her presence and intensified its malevolence. Sarah experienced vivid nightmares that left her exhausted and shaken. In the dead of night, she encountered spectral figures that beckoned her to follow them into the abyss. As Sarah's investigations deepened, she discovered a hidden room beneath the boarding house, a room that radiated pure malevolence. In it, she found forgotten journals that chronicled the tragic stories of the house's former inhabitants. Each tale was a chilling account of misery and despair, detailing how they succumbed to the darkness that dwelled within the Haunted Hollow. As Sarah read the last journal, she felt an ominous presence behind her. She turned to find Mr. Mortimer standing there, his eyes devoid of any humanity. He revealed to her the truth of his cursed existence, the price he paid for immortality, and how he had become a vessel for the tortured souls trapped within the boarding house. With every passing moment, the malevolent spirits within the house grew stronger, feeding on the fear and suffering of the boarders. Sarah realized that she, too, was now bound to the Haunted Hollow, trapped in a nightmarish existence with no hope of escape. And so, the tale of the Haunted Hollow continues, a macabre saga of twisted events soaked in misery and despair, forever haunting those who dare to step foot into its accursed halls.